Hello and welcome back to another episode of Transport Fever 2. We're here in Berkshire County, passing by our food processing plant that we placed in the last video, and in this episode we're going to focus on getting some grain from the farms we placed to this food processing plant, and then distributing that food to some needed areas across the map. Alright, and so we have these farms here that we placed in the last video, and then we have our food processing plant right here, and I think what we're going to do is try to focus on getting food from here into the cities of Tacoma and Lincoln, since both of these do need food, and I believe currently neither of them are receiving any. So we don't need a terribly large amount of food for either city to fully supply them. So hopefully we'll be able to pretty much fulfill that need in this video. And so what I'm thinking is all of our grain is going to be moved by trucks from here over to the food processing plant. I just think that's going to be the easiest way no matter what. A train doesn't make sense, and really any other mode of transportation just doesn't work in an area like this. So I think we're going to do trucks, bring them around to drop off at the food processing plant, and then from there we're going to have to figure out how to get this food from here over to this area so we can begin distributing it from Tacoma over to Lincoln. And now getting that food to this area is a bit of a toss-up between trucks and trains. We could have a couple of trucks going this way and then just get on the highway and drop off in this area, or we could have a smaller truck line drop off food over here and then have a train come and pick up food from this platform and then take it over to here. And I don't think I want to hijack our oil trains because they're working pretty well, and I just don't think it's worth it to try to do something like that, or at least at the moment. Maybe we can have 4 trains, lower the amount of tank cars per train, and then add a few box cars to each. But I'm just not sure if that's really what we want to do, although that could be pretty cost effective if we can think about that the right way. Although if we think about it from purely food, it would go from this station all the way out to here and then finally get up here. So from a cost point, if we do that, I don't know if transporting that amount of food would really make us money when it has to detour so far from its destination. And so I think I'm leaning more towards trucks taking it over to this area, but I could be persuaded either way to maybe try with a train. Alright, so let's first start by setting up our lines. So we're going to have 3 truck lines bringing grain over to our food processing plant here. So let's first set those up. Alright, so we'll have this stop here for this farm, and then we can come over here to this stop, and I think we'll go with another station just like this. We'll have to find a good spot for it, and then we can just get this placed just like that. We'll have to fix the terrain and first smooth it out, although it looks like this road isn't perfectly flat, so hopefully we can hide some of those transitions, which looks like we're actually able to do that pretty well. And then we just have to paint this in with a brush like this. Alright, then here's our next stop. I think that'll work out pretty well. And then we just have our last farm all the way down at the end of the road out this way. And there's not really a good spot for a station here anywhere. So we might have to get a little bit creative with where we put this. Alright, and then here's our third station that we'll have placed right along this road. I don't think we'll actually be getting much traffic on these roads, so it doesn't matter if this is attached right to it. But I think now this is good. We then need to set up a drop-off somewhere here for the food processing plant. And maybe this just comes and we can pretty much have this placed just like that. And I don't think that's too terrible. I think that should all work out once the autosave's finished. So I don't think this looks too terrible in this area, especially once this gets built up and it's all built up with buildings. I think this will start to blend in a bit better. But anyway, I think now we can start to set up our truck lines. So we'll have to find a truck depot, which unfortunately I think is all the way out here. Maybe we get one somewhere over here closer to this area. I think we'll just get this placed right here at the end of this road in our oil industry. We'll just have to open that up, and I think that's okay. But now we can get trucks from here, and we'll find a nice truck to carry some grain. So we have these dump trucks here. Those can carry 16. I think that's currently our best truck at the moment, as this can carry only 13, and these can carry 15. But I think let's go with some of these trucks here. So I think we'll start out with 15 on each of these lines. Or maybe we'll do 15 for these two and then 20 all the way out here. We don't want this to be too crazy because we don't really have that much demand right now until we connect to our larger network of cargo. And so again, we'll get 15 more to go on the other line. We'll select all of these. Those will go from here to here. And then again, our last line with 20 trucks. We will get that set up, and those will go to our farthest farm, going all the way out here. And now let's see how this routes to here. Okay, it looks like it takes the intended road. I was worried for a little bit it might try to take this road and then come back down, but it looks like this road is still faster. Alright, and so then we have all of our trucks set up and ready to go out. Now we do have this drop-off area, and we'll switch over probably this line to the other platform. But what we'll need then is another area here where the food can get picked up from. And so I think we're going to place this down here. Now unfortunately this road's a bit overkill for what we want, but I think the amount of platforms is okay, because if we are primarily focusing on trucks, this gives us opportunities to have multiple lines. If we maybe wanted to have a direct line down to Houston to help with its food consumption, although Houston still isn't recommending too much food, but I think it leaves our options open for the future with these trucks. Now, I will get a little worried that this segment of road will get very busy with trucks, so maybe we flip this and it comes here, especially because due to this road being 4 lanes, it creates a traffic light. So actually let's do that. Let's maybe build this out in a bit more of a smarter way that will be able to help us long term. Alright, so I think something like this will work for now. So we can have all of our food come into this station, and then that's where they will come out. So now we have to come over to Tacoma, where we're gonna have to find a spot to drop all this stuff off. And that's gonna be particularly hard because we didn't really give ourselves that much space to really have that kind of development here. I don't think we're expecting to have so many truck stations in this area. And so I think what we're gonna have to do is maybe delete this road depot, and then we'll have to come in and find our streets. We'll have to find the one that we built here, and then maybe just extend that out farther. And so we could just do what we're doing on the other side of the train station, just place this down, which I think we'll have to do for now. We might have to end up placing much smaller truck stations farther in the future, but this is still connected to everything here, so this is all still sort of one interconnected node. And then we can find our road depot and pretty much just replace that. It'll just be moved out a bit farther than it was before, so we'll just have that placed right on the corner there, and everything should still function as it was. So we'll now have to come here. We'll use a couple of these trucks. I think again this will probably be like 20 or 25, since this will carry all of the food. And those will then go from this stop down here all the way up to this station here. And then we'll set this properly so that things don't get all mixed up. We want food coming in, and we want everything unloaded here. And so real quick, let's math out how much we'll need. So we have Tacoma here, which needs, we'll round to 150 food, and then Lincoln will round this up to 200. So we will need about 350 food in total coming out of our food processing plant at the moment, which, let's start here. This truck line is only doing 150, so we'll wait a little bit for these trucks to spread out, and then we'll essentially duplicate that. But we'll have to take a closer look at these three lines. So this one's at a rate of 152, this one's at a rate of 113, and then this last one is also at a rate of 113. Now we have to remember that we need to double that, because it takes 2 grain to make 1 food. So if we want 350 food, we need these 3 lines to add up to 700. And so I think that's going to require us to pretty much just double everything that we're currently doing. So all these lines will just get double the amount of trucks. And so now we have all those trucks starting to come out. Again, we're going to wait for this food truck line before we duplicate those. But I think for now, while we wait for our vehicles to spread out and we can get a bit more accurate numbers, let's add a few buildings in the area here to bring some of this stuff together just a bit more. And then hopefully once we're back with that, we'll be able to start delivering this food into the cities. Alright, and I think this is where we're going to leave this area off. I think this area will look a lot better once this is beginning to upgrade. But I think for now, we're starting to see some of our grain coming into our truck station here. And I believe a lot of our trucks are beginning to... Yeah, we have some of our food trucks starting to make their way back. So I think let's double this so that we can get up to the 350 that we were aiming for. And of course we'll have to maybe just throw in a couple others to get up to 350. Alright, so now that we have those coming in, I think next step is to, well, first make sure none of these lines are going to accidentally take food. So this is a fuel line, that's not going to grab anything. These lines should already be set to only load their respective resources. Again, fuel we don't have to worry about. And then this tools line, that's already set. Our train lines, I think the main one we want to focus on is this line and make sure it's not going to load any food, which it looks like it's not even able to do that. So I think we're okay to start, first of all, delivering the food here and then sending it back out by truck into these cities. So let's start here with Tacoma, since that's obviously the easiest one we can do. And all of our food is concentrated right here in the middle of the city. We already have one truck stop here, but I think for the sake of keeping things separated, let's have a stop right here, and that's where our food's going to get delivered. And again, we only need 157, so we'll keep that in mind. Let's maybe see if we can find a smaller truck to deliver this food. I was using these Ford Model 77 trucks, but I think those are getting a little too old. So I think we might have to grab one of these. These trucks are good, but they're just big. However, looking from an emission standpoint, it seems like these trucks might be a little bit better. They have the same emissions. They have a faster loading speed, which is nice, especially in a city environment. And so I think let's just go with these. They're slightly shorter as well, so they won't sort of take up as much space when they're waiting for the station. We'll start with 10 of them, and then those will go from this stop to our truck stop here. And now this we need to make sure we set up properly, so we'll have it load food and then unload at the unload stop. And then we'll also make sure that this is set up properly so that they're on separate platforms. I'm not sure if we'll get a rate that's accurate immediately, but this says 155, which is pretty close to what we were anticipating. It's just 2 less than what's currently there. So I think let's just leave that. That's a perfectly fine number for us. And then I think the next step then is figuring out how we're going to get deliveries into Lincoln. And so I think first of all, let's just see where the food is needed. And it looks like it's needed right here, which actually isn't too bad from what I can tell. It looks like we're delivering tools here already. But if we just move this over a little bit, it looks like we can maybe capture all the food that the city needs right off of this street. And so let's place this down right here. And then Lincoln needs a bit more at about 200. And now this trip is much longer, so I think this might be a case where we use these slightly larger trucks due to their higher capacity. since the trip is so long, we won't need quite as many trucks. We'll start out with 20 of them. Those will then go from this truck station as well, and then drop off the food all the way out here. Alright, so now these should be set up and ready to go. They're going to all come from Tacoma here and slowly spread out. So it is going to take a little bit of time before things work their way through here, as we can see all this happening. I think what we should do to really help is allow these alternate platforms. Now that'll just help with getting these trucks out of here, so they're still going to be bunched up a little bit, but it'll help slowly over time filter through this. But we can see our food processing plant is producing food. We are seeing some food popping up here now. I think this truck might have left with some food. Yeah, it left with 3. The one before it hasn't left with anything, so this is probably our first delivery of food. So that's exciting to see. So let's check up on our farms, make sure none of our truck stops are causing any issues. It looks like we really don't have that many trucks coming out here, so overall I think we're doing pretty okay. We can see just how much each farm is producing at the moment. They're all only doing about 200, so these are going to have to upgrade, which they will once the food starts getting delivered. The other stats that it needs, such as the shipment and transport number, those will start to go up once our first deliveries of food actually hit their destinations. Alright, so while we wait for things to even out and distribute in this area, I think what I want to do is start prepping us for another machines factory. As I mentioned before, I believe it was the last video, this machines factory just isn't enough to produce for the whole map, and this steel mill is pretty close to, I think, being about as full as it can be. We have 4 iron mines pretty much pushing out at max speed, trying to get iron out to there, as well as a bunch of coal mines here also producing a ton. So I think we're reaching capacity for what vehicles and sort of congestion can handle with all of this steel. And I think it's just sort of spreading ourselves too thin. We're using this steel for machines. I believe we're also using it for goods, which is also taking a good amount away from this. So I think overall this steel mill is pretty close to being at max capacity. So I think we're going to look for a new area of the map where we can have a lot of machines going. And I think that's pretty much what we're going to spend our time doing now. We'll probably place some industries down as placeholders, sort of marking locations that I think some of these industries could fit. And we're not really going to connect anything up, and we probably won't connect much of this up for another few videos, but I think getting the sort of baseline set for this so that we can start preparing to deliver more machines is definitely something that we need at the moment. And so machines needs steel and planks to produce machines. So let's start with some iron and coal mines. And I've already been looking at this middle area of the map here. We're currently not using any industries in this area. Pretty much from Pittsburgh to Houston is completely unused land, so I think this machines factory is largely going to take place in this central area here. And so starting out with our iron mines, I think getting an iron mine in this location here would be pretty cool. It's sort of already a natural sort of pit, So I think we could really sort of scale this up. And we probably won't use the actual industry itself when we get into detailing it, but we will just place down like 2 of these just so that we remember that we're going to do something here. It'll probably end up like the iron mines that we're using over near Pittsburgh. This iron mine, it'll probably look something similar to this, but I'm imagining that scaled up to fill this area. I think that'll look really cool, and then we can have a tunnel come through this small portion of the mountain, and then we can go to wherever our steel mill is going to be. And so then that brings us to the coal mine. And this is a little bit trickier because I do want to keep it sort of in a hilly landscape, but like I don't want to just put it on this flat plateau here. And actually, I think maybe an area like this could work decently well for a coal mine. We can soften up these cliffs a little bit, and that might really help us sell the look of the coal mine a bit more. And so let's get 2 of these placed, again, just sort of as a reminder for the future. So then we'll need a good spot for the steel mill, which this I think could go up here, but I think I want to challenge ourselves a bit and maybe go with a different area. So I think right about where this oil refinery is could be a decent spot for a steel mill. So let's just replace that. Again, we'll fix that later, but that's just something for reference. And then I like this area here, but I think instead of having this sawmill, I think this is a good spot for the forest industry. So let's get those placed. I think 1 there and maybe 1 back here. So those will be pretty good there. And then I'm thinking down here is a okay spot for the sawmill. Yeah, I think down here somewhere. This is just gonna be a really rough spot for that location. And then lastly, our actual machines factory. And this is going to be important because this is going to have a lot of vehicles coming in and out of it. I think this can go... Let's actually have this come along the river here somewhere. I think we'll get rid of this coal mine. And for now, we'll just get this place right here. It's not oriented in a way that makes sense at the moment, but I think this is a good location because it's somewhat close to this highway here. So we could either truck machines all the way up to the cargo hub here if we need to, or maybe this helps us set up a new highway connection that follows the river, and then we can have some type of connection down here. Or maybe we just use boats at that point, but I think that's a pretty strategic spot for machines. It's centralized, it's pretty close to Pittsburgh again, so it can sort of help with this one over here. But I think overall, I'm pretty happy with where all of our industries landed for this machines factory. Alright, so now with this setup, let's come back and we'll take a look at our farm lines, make sure everything is running properly, and then I think this will be a good spot to end off after we make sure things are functioning as intended. And so we can see our trucks coming into the farms. Nothing looks too overly crowded. This road here doesn't seem crowded at all, really. So I think we're doing good here. Now, this road and this intersection up here, I'm worried it could get crowded, but it doesn't seem too bad, at least at the moment. But of course, as we unlock more trucks, this will get better once we have higher capacity. And we can see here at the food processing plant, our transport number is what's currently holding us back from upgrading. And again, that's just due to the fact that a lot of our food hasn't quite reached its destinations yet. We can see Tacoma is starting to receive a little bit of food, and then Lincoln all the way out here hasn't quite received anything yet. I don't know if we have any trucks currently heading that direction. It doesn't look like any trucks have left yet to go out towards Tacoma. Although it looks like this, Lincoln, but it looks like this truck is going to be the first full truckload of food to head towards Lincoln. So we will start to see these numbers reflected back at the food processing plant sometime soon. Now, this back up here, I think we just need to wait for things to get a little bit more spread out. We're obviously going to make sure our delivery line and our other lines are separated so that they don't interfere with each other. We want to make sure food coming in has its own platform and food going out has its own platform. So that'll help out a little bit. And then let's just come back here and double check our line rates. So we are targeting 350 from this food processing plant. That's still going to take a moment to upgrade, but we can take a look here, and these numbers should all add up to 700. So we have just about 400 here, 350 here, and almost 400 here. So we're well over the amount that we really need. I think we could probably sell 5 vehicles per line. Now, it doesn't hurt for us to be over-delivering grain to the food processing plant. It'll always sell, and it won't really cause any issues. However, we do want to make sure that our line rate for the food is correct, because the food processing plant will only produce what is in demand. So we'll finish selling these vehicles just like that, and that looks like that dropped them all down just a little bit. Nothing too crazy. It looks like we'll probably be ending up around 900 total, which is a little bit less than a little bit more than the 700 that we're targeting, but again, I'd rather be slightly over than slightly under. And then as for this line here, this should be spread out enough that we have, it looks like, way too many trucks here. 564 is a bit overkill. So we could probably afford to sell 10 to 15 of these vehicles and not cause too many issues. So we can sell all those. That gets us down to 400. Maybe we sell like 3 more. And then I'm okay at 395. We could probably even sell like 2 more. And so I think that's an okay number to be at. And so we'll just wait for those things to, or we'll have to wait for those things to have those changes properly included. But taking a look here, it looks like some of our numbers for our delivery lines are a bit not correct. Let's double check here. In Tacoma, this is only at 116 now, and now I'm not sure why. That could be due to a multitude of many things, but with these lines delivering into the cities, we do have to be careful that we're not flooding our streets with traffic. And so I'm not going to do a huge leap here, but I think 2 more vehicles will be okay. That goes up to 140. It looks like that still covers the amount that the city needs. And then as for Lincoln, all the way out here, This needs 176. And if we can find our Lincoln line, yeah, this says it's currently operating at a rate of 94. And so I think I'm only comfortable duplicating maybe 5 vehicles. And we'll slowly raise this up to the number we need, since again, this is a line that's pretty long, so any updates will take a little bit to see accurately reflected. But I think this is a good spot to leave this video off. Alright, so let's take a closer look at everything we've done in this video, and then when we come back, we'll talk about some next steps and future projects. Alright, so here we are back driving into our food processing plant, and let's talk about some of our next steps and future projects. So this food processing plant is doing pretty well. I think next steps for this whole area is just waiting for things to upgrade. We'll wait for this to upgrade. These farms, I believe, should be upgrading, or some of them are getting ready to upgrade. But I think that's obviously going to wait for the food processing plant first. However, the next logical step from here is producing enough food where our deliveries here will allow us to send a train of food to our cargo hub out here so that we can deliver even more food. I think we're already getting some food from Pittsburgh, but I believe Roswell needs a bit more food, and then of course maybe even some of this food just returns back to Pittsburgh, since Pittsburgh needs a ton of food. It needs over 1,000 food now at this point, so things definitely need to start happening with production in other areas of the map, but Pittsburgh clearly needs a lot, and we're not really providing that. Allentown needs a little bit, but it is receiving most of that food. However, getting into some of our next steps here, since this machines line is fairly large with the amount of industries it requires to get up and running, I think we're gonna maybe take this 1 or 2 industries at a time, get those detailed and prepped to be connected to everything. I'm not sure if we'll spend an entire video connecting all this up and making sure it all looks good, but I think we'll take it in chunks as we sort of work through other things. So maybe the first thing we do is this iron ore mine, and then the next video we work on the coal mine and the forest industries. It'll probably be something like that, just because of how large these industry chains can get. But then moving on to other areas, Houston, I do want to start finishing up this tourist area, so fixing some of these hotel locations and other attractions in this area, throwing together the shopping center that we want to put in here, and then also detailing the park that we want in this area. I'm not sure what order we're going to end up doing all these next steps in, I think it just kind of depends on if we want to be more focused on larger scale sort of management, or if we want to get into the detailing of small moments like this. But this is something I want to start to wrap up, especially in this area, so that Houston can begin looking more complete. But I think other than that, there's not much more that we really need to do or put on our list. So I think this is going to be a good spot to end this video. So if you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions or feedback, leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.